The month of November was sometimes known to rural areas like Antrobus as Blood Month, the time when animals were slaughtered for winter food.
But on November the 5th, we remember another act of violence. Around the country, children and adults gather round bonfires and wave their sparklers to celebrate Guy Fawkes Night.
This November the 5th, we're travelling down to the town of Lewes in the Sussex Downs for the most important date in their calendar.
It may look like a sleepy town by day, but on bonfire night, they don't just set off a few fireworks.
I've been involved in it in various stints throughout my life, which is 47 years, and my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather were involved. You know, bonfire's been part of our lives for always.
There are 7 bonfire societies in Lewes alone, each getting ready in secret locations.
You've got the tension, you've got the excitement, and the adrenaline starts pumping through as you get nearer and nearer. This is bonfire.
It's not what you'd expect. You get 80,000 people descending on the small town. It's nuts, basically.
This is the guy. We've packed it inside. As you can see, there's lots of them, different sets, different sizes, different colours. And then right at the end, we've got the big bomb in the middle, just to make it go bang.
Public outings on November the 5th first began in 1606, a year after the plot to destroy Parliament was foiled. For the government, it was their perfect chance to rally people against what they saw as the threat of Catholicism. In Lewes, it tapped into deep-rooted religious sentiments that were already there long before Guy Fawkes.
Out here in front of the Crown Court is the location where the 17 Protestant martyrs were brought up from the town hall and were executed for their beliefs.
50 years before the Guy Fawkes plot, these 17 local men and women were burned to death as Protestants under Bloody Mary. Their challenge to the Catholic monarch dominates Lewes and is also remembered on the 5th.
You know, there's an old Sussex saying, we won't be druv, which means, you know, we won't be told what to do. We've done this for hundreds of years, and I don't think it should ever stop.
Nothing could prepare us for the sheer spectacle of the procession. The town has been completely taken over by the people. It's obvious from the start that this is their night.
You really feel like you're watching the spirit of the original 5th. This procession has been going on for hundreds of years, ever since the first bonfire boys ran riot through the streets.
There's obviously different societies who have different costumes.
And they look a bit like bumblebees.
There's all manner of costumes going on here, but they seem to be organised according to which bonfire society they belong to.
Lewes has always been very strong with maintaining traditions and fighting for people's rights.
Yeah.
Lewes is one of the few places where the Riot Act was read in the 1850s.
Right.
And that's why societies formed, because it was all kind of a bit underground and a bit illegal.
Yeah.
So Cliff was the first one to form in 1853 alongside Borough, and they've gone marching ever since.
We've managed to cross the line and catch up with Borough, and they let us join their procession.
So how long have you been coming to this event then?
Oh, since I was 5 days old. I was born on the 31st of October.
You seem to not flinch every time there's a big bang like us. You just got used to the noise then.
Yeah.
It's one of the most disorientating experiences of my life. Suddenly, we find ourselves walking behind some Zulus.
Tell us about your costumes.
Well, this one's about 25 years old.
Wow.
You start when you were 1.
You start with nothing. You just add on every year.
Chaps are responsible for chucking the barrel in the river, is that right?
Yeah, I've just carried it down, Just carried it down for my 20th year.
Wow.
My father used to carry it.
Really?
My uncles carried it. My grandfather carried it. My back hurts, so I'm going to stand down now and let my boy take over.
Why are you wearing drapey smuggler outfit?
Right, every society has a smuggler outfit. Obviously, we'll go back to Guy Fawkes, because they were smugglers. They smuggled stuff in, didn't they? Each society has its own colour. We're blue and white. Cliff that are black and white. We've got Waterloo, red and white. Yeah. And it goes on like that. And then we've all got our first and second pioneer costumes.
So that's it. Each society has their own pioneers.
Yeah. Cliff have got Vikings. And
Mongolians are Waterloo, etc., etc.
our first pioneers are Zulus.
Why Zulus?
It's been, I don't know, I can't answer that question really. It was started a long time ago, and it's just a very colourful and spectacular costume. So why not have it and put it right at the front?
By now, the societies are starting to process to their individual fire sites on the edge of town. There's so much to see that Becky and I decide to split up.
You can see fireworks going up all over Lewes because we're right on top of the hill. So, wow, look at those. You can see everybody's fireworks displays. Whoa!
And then something rather unexpected starts happening. I'm sure you're not supposed to do that with fireworks.
What happens is we have the clergy stand. The bishop delivers an address to the general public. Then we all throw rookies and what have you at them to try and burn the Pope.
There's no way in the world I would ever do that job.
Elsewhere, I'm still wandering the streets, as around me each bonfire society parades huge tableaus through the town on their way to their fire sites.
The idea for the tableau is a big secret in society. It's normally something quite topical.
And at the Cliff fire site, it's Gaddafi who gets the Lewes treatment. Such a powerful image. It's quite a strange thing. It's something I'll remember forever, definitely. Well, I think they just blew up the Pope. But it is quite a strange sight. Not all the societies do it now, but Cliff still do it.
There's not really any anti-Catholicism. I know there's a lot of no popery, but that's a particular pope, not just the pope in general.
So what is that all about? Is that's not about the Pope now?
No, I mean, it's about a particular pope who was a raping, murdering, nasty man.
Right.
That's why we burn a particular pope. It's still to maintain freedom of speech and those kind of rights, and that's what we do it for. It's not that we can be controlled by the government. It's, we are in control of our destiny.
Yeah.
At the end of the evening, we all head back to town. And Lewes Borough end the night at the site of the burning of the martyrs for their bonfire prayers. It's the loudest, most anarchic evening I've ever encountered. I've never seen such a mix of costumes and characters take part in one event and together hold some kind of unified meaning for a town. It's like they took the Guy Fawkes public celebration and used it to express their feelings towards anything they felt strongly about at the time.
We'll dress how we want, say what we want, and burn whoever we want at the fireside.
It's a very powerful show of commemoration and independence.
We love the bonfire works! Yeah!
Out here in front of the Crown Court is the location where the 17 Protestant martyrs were brought up from the town hall and were executed for their beliefs.
I'm in Lewes, in East Sussex, and I'm investigating the horrific story of the burning of the Marian martyrs. Protestant men and women were burned because of their faith. Today, it gets gruesome. High up above Lewes, on Cliff Hill, is this very strange-looking obelisk. It's a memorial to something that happened 450 years ago. It reads, "In loving memory of the undernamed 17 Protestant martyrs who, for their faithful testimony to God's truth during the reign of Queen Mary, were burned to death in front of the then Star Inn, now the Town Hall in Lewes." And then it goes on to say that the obelisk was provided by public subscriptions and erected in 1901. Yet this event took place in the 16th century. During the reign of Bloody Mary, it was ordered that dissenting Protestants be burned at the stake. It was outside the old Star Inn in Lewes that this happened. The town hall now resides on the spot where the burnings took place. No fewer than 288 Protestants were burned across the country for their heretical views, 17 of those in Lewes.
You know, there's an old Sussex saying, we won't be druv, which means, you know, we won't be told what to do. We've done this for hundreds of years, and I don't think it should ever stop.
And fighting for people's rights.
Yeah.
Lewes is one of the few places where the Riot Act was read in the 1850s.
Right.
And that's why societies formed, because it was all kind of a bit underground and a bit illegal.
Why are you wearing drapey smuggler outfit?
Right, every society has a smuggler outfit. Obviously, we'll go back to Guy Fawkes, because they were smugglers. They was, you know, they smuggled stuff in, didn't they?
Guy Fawkes was born during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. He was raised Protestant, but later became a devout Catholic, angered by England's oppression of his religion. He left England to join the Spanish army, where he gained a reputation as a man highly skilled in matters of war. He asked Philip III, King of Spain, for assistance in starting a rebellion against Britain's then ruler, James I. Philip declined, but Fawkes soon found other like-minded men interested in bringing down King James. He was invited to join what would later become known as the Gunpowder Plot, Fawkes and 4 co-conspirators rented a cellar under the House of Lords. Fawkes was responsible for getting the gunpowder and igniting it on the opening day of Parliament, the 5th of November. The aim was to kill the king and as many other lords as they could. But one of the conspirators was worried that a fellow Catholic, Lord Monteagle, would get caught in the blast. So he sent an anonymous letter to Monteagle, warning him to stay away from Parliament that night. The letter was passed on to the king, who ordered the cellars underneath the House of Lords to be searched. There they found Guy Fawkes, who claimed to be a man named John Johnson. Worst fake name ever. He was standing guard over 36 barrels of gunpowder. It seems crazy from a modern perspective that people could just rent cellars underneath the House of Lords. But those were happier times. So, after days of torture, Guy Fawkes gave up his real identity and the other members of the conspiracy. They were hunted down and, along with Fawkes, executed. Afterwards, James I cracked down even harder on Catholics, and Parliament declared that the 5th of November should be used to celebrate the foiling of the gunpowder plot. Ever since then, the 5th of November has been known in Britain as Guy Fawkes Night, or Bonfire Night, where we celebrate with fireworks and the burning of a life-size figure of Guy Fawkes. Which is kind of interesting because Guy Fawkes wasn't actually burned at the stake. He was hung, drawn and quartered.
What?
A strange thing, it's something I'll remember forever, definitely. Well, I think they just blew up the Pope. But it is quite a strange sight. Not all the societies do it now, but Cliff still do it.
There's not really any anti-Catholicism. I know there's a lot of no popery, but that's a particular pope, not just the pope in general.
So what is that all about? Is that's not about the Pope now?
No, I mean it's about a particular pope who was a raping, murdering, nasty man.
Right.
That's why we burn a particular pope. It's still to maintain freedom of speech and those kind of rights, and that's what we do it for. It's not that we can be controlled by the government. It's, you know, we are in control of our destiny.
It's 8 o'clock in Sussex, in the High Street. Surely you need a permission to do this sort of thing. But how could you stop it? They're not doing it for Cecil B. DeMille or the tourist board. They parade for themselves, every one of them.
What you've got to remember is, if all these people weren't here, we would still be on the streets. We do this because we want to do it. We do this because it's tradition. We do this because it's history.